Yo, what's up, Hoophead Nation? And welcome to episode 61 of Buzzer Beaters. We are brought to you by grumblingsmedia.com. You can find us there as well as anywhere you find your podcasts. We are here weekly, and we are here weekly live here at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. I'm your host, Eddie Aparicio. This is my co-host, Anthony Tuan Corral, and we're also known as the Cisco Kidz. And what we have lined up for this week is, hey, we're going to go ahead and take a walk around the NBA and just talk about various topics around the NBA. It's been a very exciting first week. A lot of things have happened. I mean, did we ever expect to see Victor Wembanyama look the way he looks? Oh my God, this guy is like must-see TV, right? So we'll talk about, all the different players, the teams, kind of the surprising starts, some of the teams that we thought would be at the top, they're kind of struggling. Namely the Mavs right now. But we'll go ahead and get into it. The second segment is something, we've changed it up a little bit. We in the past, we kind of trying to talk about all NBA, but now we're going to go ahead and have a segment dedicated to the Warriors because that's our team, right? And, there's a lot of you out there that are still, Warrior fans, and that's going to be a segment that we're always going to cover every week. So we're going to be NBA primarily for the most part, and then we're going to go ahead and dovetail into the Warriors. And then the very last segment is a quick little rookie fantasy league update, just kind of showing how our teams are doing, how it's the standings are changing, the scoring's changing on a week-to-week basis. It's a real short segment, but it gives us an opportunity to talk about our players that we have on our fantasy team. So before we go ahead and get started, Swan, how you been, bro? What's going on, man?
Oh, man, I think I mentioned it last week. We're getting our kitchen updated, and it's wreaking havoc on my life, dude. We're like ordering out every night, like dinners, like a mystery, who gets where, what, how.
Right. So, what have you been eating, man?
Dude, you name it. I mean, Pancho Villa, been there a couple of times.
Oh, have you really?
Sometimes it's an in-and-out night. Then there's like trade. We got the microwave out in the living room, so we're like frozen foods from Trader Joe's or whatever, or Stouffer's or whatever, all of the above, bro.
Oh, man.
But I'm just telling you, if you ever want to decommission a house, bro, take away the kitchen.
Holy crap. For sure. Dude, I mean, that's the center of the house, really, right? It really is.
Dude, it is a mess, bro. Like it's everywhere. So that's been what I've been dealing with, watching NBA, excited. Been watching our Warriors, been watching Wemby, who freaking dribbles like Steph, but he's 7'3". Like, what the hell?
Crazy?
Oh, dude, what the hell, dude? That's not fair. That's not fair.
I know, bro. It's crazy. I mean, we'll go ahead and get right into it since you brought up Victor Wembanyama. I got to tell you that the Spurs, we definitely had them climbing the ladder right this year. We thought that a year under the belt with De'Aaron Fox, a full year, along with Victor Wembanyama, along with now the newly drafted and acquired Dylan Harper, and they have a bunch of Keldon Johnson, who's also a very
Stephon Castle.
Stephon Castle, who was a rookie of the year last year. This team looks really poised to be very good this year, and they're at the top right now. They're 4-0. They're one of only, I think, 1, 2, 3. I think there's only 4 teams left that are undefeated in the NBA. They're at the top 4-0. Of course, the Oklahoma City Thunder are also undefeated as well. We knew that. And then but let me ask you something, bro. I know you've seen Victor Wembanyama. He's must-see TV, bro. I mean, he worked out with Akeem Olajuwon in the offseason.
Yes.
See that his footwork is way better. He's not doing the dream shake or anything like that.
No.
You can see he's way more polished, bro. I mean, like he's also got a little bit more bulk to him. He's not as stringy as he was, right? But he just looks uber confident, bro. I mean, he looks like he just looks like someone who just wants to dominate the NBA. And I got to tell you, man, the NBA is on notice right now with this guy. Assuming that he stays healthy, doesn't have the deep vein thrombosis that kind of sidelined him for the majority of last season. This guy looks to be poised to be like a breakout star, and is, in my opinion, the front runner right now for the MVP. We're only 5 games in, but he's that dominant. What are your thoughts?
He's insanely dominant, and and I know we're going to talk about the Warriors later, but one thing that I noticed both in Kuminga and Wemby is what you said. Their demeanor is very. Wemby's always been talented, but his demeanor is very calm. He's very calm now. He's not frantic. He's not, it's just everything seems to be being done with a purpose.
Yep.
And and obviously it's early in the season. People are still getting their legs under them. I'm sure the defense, they'll watch more film on Wemby and see where they can attack him.
Yeah.
And things like that will come. But yeah, dude, if he doesn't get hurt, dude, we're looking at a monster of a player. I mean, just absolutely a monster.
And dude, just to give you some context, I'm a big FanDuel player, right?
Yeah.
He has scored, I think, in the four games that he has played in, fantasy points wise, he's had 3 games in the 70+ point range in fantasy points, right?
Yeah.
He is right now the highest valued or priced guy to put in your lineup. It used to be Jokic. It's now this guy, right? Jokic is closely right behind him, but that just gives you an idea of how many stats this guy accumulates. He does blocks too, blocks and steals, right? He had 8 blocks in one game, man, along with his freaking, 30-something points and multiple, tens of rebounds. He just is a machine, dude, and he just looks fresh, man. He just looks like a different beast. And I got to tell you, man, like I said, we talked about him in last year's podcasts. We kind of were looking at, guys that we want to start an organization, guys that we thought would be kind of up and coming. And we both thought this guy would be, a transcendent player. And he actually has been as advertised, because he actually had been the guy that was kind of considered a no miss,
Can't hear you. I can't hear Eddie. I can't hear you. Can you hear me? I can't hear you. I still can't hear you. Yeah, there you go. There you are.
That's weird. Okay. But anyway, I don't know what was there or not. I don't know.
No, you were saying he's a transcendent player. And
I'm just saying, we haven't seen anything. I mean, LeBron was a can't miss prospect. They were comparing him to LeBron James as far as a can't miss prospect. He has been as advertised, right? Of course, we had that deep vein thrombosis, which sidelined him last year, but he has come back and just looks like he's a very different player. And we talked about in past podcasts that this guy was, going to be one of these, franchise makers. And you even brought it up. The Spurs have been lucky to get a Tim Duncan, a David Robinson, and now this guy, right? It's just unbelievable the luck that organization has had in getting these, Hall of Fame players. He's on the trajectory of being one of the best players we've ever seen.
If he doesn't get hurt, he's at this point he's can't miss.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned LeBron. LeBron was good, but he was bulky, he was larger, he was faster. Wemby's only taller, but he in a weird sort of way kind of reminds me of Steph. He's kind of electric, like Steph is.
Yeah.
Like LeBron isn't electric. LeBron's just good, but like Jordan was electric. And Wemby's just very electric. When he does these behind the back, then back the other way, then shoots a 3, I'm like, dude, that's unreal. For a guy your size, that's unreal.
And he's very agile. Usually guys that are kind of tall, they're usually a little frumpy. They're not. They're agile, but they're not like this, man. This guy is very athletic, right? For his size, and he's very fluid.
Yeah, very fluid.
Very fluid. And he's doing these dribbling. You brought up, he's dribbling like Steph, right?
Yeah.
And he can shoot the 3. There isn't really a weakness that I've seen in this guy's game, other than just his, he's very lanky. His center of gravity is very high, so it's not very low. So he could probably get moved around by some of the bigger, stronger guys. But it doesn't matter. His length is going to take over, bro. So
Eddie, question. I got a question. I'm curious about. You're on FanDuel, and when FanDuel, game 1 of the season, I'm assuming Wemby wasn't the highest guy.
He was He was up there though. He wasn't the highest guy.
How quickly does FanDuel adapt?
It does it usually within a day or two. If a guy has, for instance, to give you an idea, if someone is valued, I'll give you a good example, Austin Reeves. Okay, he recently had because now we'll dovetail after the Wemmy talk. We'll talk about the Lakers because that's an interesting conversation too. But Austin Reeves, when he first started in the season, he was roughly about $6,300 to put in your lineup. Then, Luka got hurt with his finger. LeBron James with the sciatica. He's now out right until mid-November. He's now he's their scorer, right? And the other night, like last week, I think it was, or a couple games ago, dude, he had like a 70-something point night FanDuel wise.
Yeah, that's his 50-point game. Yeah,
yeah. So immediately his freaking price, it was at $6,200. Now he's like at $8,700.
Gotcha.
So it goes up.
It adapts fairly quick.
It adapts within like 2 games usually. It depends on how they don't update it immediately all the time. Sometimes you can get a good like I think the night he got his 50-point game, the very next game he was still the same price, right? It didn't go up, but it does change. But all right. So real quick before we move off the Victor Wembanyama of the Spurs, what's very scary about this team, bro? They don't have De'Aaron Fox yet.
No, I know.
Right? They don't have De'Aaron Fox. And this team is moving very, very, and they're motoring right now, man. They're right now from a net rating standpoint, they are currently at 16.66 net rating. That's number 1 in the NBA. Number 2 is Miami Heat at 14.56. Now it's only a 5-game sample,
of course.
Still, it gives you an idea. They're at the top right now. Whereas Oklahoma City, 7.38 and 7.3. Oklahoma City Thunder have been missing, Jalen Williams. He's been out, right? And they've had various other guys who've been in and out of that lineup, right? But the team is very deep, so they can get by without those guys, right? But I just want to put you in context, like how well this team is doing. And they're doing it without one of their, main acquisitions in the offseason last year in De'Aaron Fox. So this team is going to be scary.
Well, what's funny, Eddie? Every time there's something like this happens, it's really interesting when something's running this smoothly and you put in a new dynamic, a la De'Aaron Fox.
Yep.
I wonder what the impact's going to be.
There's an adjustment period.
Is there going to be a negative impact? How's that going to? Because right now they're playing very smoothly, and as opposed to their other 2 Texas brethren teams, they are playing much better than the other 2 Texas teams.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Rockets and the Dallas Mavericks.
So, let's get into those guys since you brought it up, right? Because you want to dovetail away.
I think you froze on me there, Eddie. Oh, there we go.
Okay. We want to dovetail away from the Spurs since we talked a lot about them already. So, you brought up the Cavs, or the Mavs, excuse me.
Yep,
the Mavs, they are struggling because they don't really have a true point guard right now, right? Cooper Flagg has taken the reins as being their point guard out of necessity, right? They also have D'Angelo Russell, which I'm surprised they really don't start him because he is really a true point guard. For whatever reason, Jason Kidd believes that Cooper Flagg could be it, and he could be, right? The guy's got length. He plays defense. He's got good court vision. He can shoot, although his shooting has kind of been off a little bit lately. Yeah. In my opinion, I think he's adjusting, and because of that, he's struggling a little bit, right? He's not what everybody's thinking he should be right now because he was definitely that can't miss prospect. He's the number 1 pick, wasn't even 18 years old when he got drafted. And we all saw him on Team USA, how that guy was just balling, right? So he had a great year at Duke, but this is a new position for him. He hasn't necessarily played this position. And I think this is why he's kind of struggling. Then you got, Anthony Davis has been playing well. PJ Washington has been playing decently too. Gafford has been hurt. You got Lively who's been there, is there as well. And Klay Thompson's struggling, bro. He's not really shooting really that well right now, right? So they're kind of a team that's kind of like trying to find itself right now, given that they don't really have a true point guard. And once Kyrie Irving comes back, then they're a problem. But they're kind of they're towards the tail end of as far as standings. They're right now second to last. They're the 14th seed right now. They're 1-3. Now it's still early, but still they're struggling, man.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan. I mean, he's a rookie. It's a new position. I think you need to give Cooper Flagg less to think about. And running the point is a lot to think about. Do I shoot? Do I distribute? I think right now, ultimately maybe that may be a position that he grows into. But right now, you just want to get him familiar with the league, familiar with his teammates, get a little bit of comfort zone, find out where he can attack. And I think this is just added decision making that really is hurting him. And maybe in the long haul, it'll be for the best.
Yes.
But for me, I'm with you. I think they need to start D'Lo. put him in more of as a natural position, let him get acclimated to the league, let him get a little bit of a comfort zone. And then, when D'Lo sits down, maybe have him run point for, a couple minutes, when D'Lo's off the court and things like that. But I think it's a little bit of an overload. It's a lot to ask.
No, I agree, man. And, it's interesting is that, James Harden, when he first came to the league, he was an off guard almost his entire career until Mike D'Antoni said, no, I think you should be a point guard, right? And then when he first became a point guard, he wasn't necessarily the best either, right? He was turnover prone big time. He still is to some extent, but he developed himself to be a very good point guard over the years, right? I mean, he's pretty deadly from a scoring standpoint, distributing standpoint. He's just a big, strong guy. So it took him a few years to figure it out. And I'm thinking that's probably what Jason Kidd probably sees, that, let me go ahead and, he's going to go through some growing pains, but I have the confidence in this guy being, this guy who can make the right decisions. Our team needs a guy like that, and we're willing to grow with it right now. And, but the thing is, I think Jason Kidd probably thought their team was actually going to be adjusting a lot quicker, and they're just kind of struggling right now. But it's still early, right? People are still kind of getting into shape. They're still trying to find themselves. We'll see where they're at in the next, 20 to 30 games right down the line.
Yeah. No, I agree. They're still figuring each other out. But, the point is the flow, right? That's the player that dictates the rhythm on the court. And again, he's trying to figure it out. So the rhythm's going to be off. How long is that going to take? Again, for me, if you're asking me, start D'Lo, start Cooper Flagg slow, build him up to it. And then you can maybe by All-Star break, you put the switch. At that point, Kyrie might, will be an impact, and that'll be lesser of a decision. Because the other thing too is you're putting Cooper Flagg in this. When Kyrie comes back, Cooper Flagg's not going to be running point,
right? Kyrie
is. So then what's the exercise for?
Yeah, right. Well, maybe exactly.
Now you got to get him acclimated to his position that he was going to play.
His true position, right? Yeah, small forward, right?
I don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't get it either, man. Yeah. But the other team you brought up is the other Texas team, the Houston Rockets, right?
Yes.
We both had them, kind of, finishing pretty high this season. They're kind of they're at the bottom now, man.
They are very low.
Yeah, they're 11th seed right now, as of tonight, right? And Kevin Durant, as we thought, was going to be a very good fit for him, but that Fred VanVleet injury is definitely haunting them right now, bro. The same thing with Amen Thompson is being essentially given the reins to be a point guard. That's not really his true position, which is exactly the same thing Cooper Flagg's going through, right? So this team's also struggling, but they threw out in the against the Warriors, Steven Adams and Alperen Şengün. I mean, they're a long team, man, right? They're a problem. They still have to. I think right now they're getting acclimated with Kevin Durant being Kevin Durant, right? And once they figure that out, they're going to be a problem, man. So, yeah. So,
Sorry, I lost you there for a second. I don't know if it's me or you. You kind of locked up on me. I don't know. That's probably me. But they're putting Amen Thompson at the point guard, which is what you were saying. Yep. That's something he's not comfortable with. I mean, not right now. It's a new position for him. I don't know. I don't know where these teams started getting like you can just put anybody at point.
Yeah.
You can't. Point guards they're decision makers. They know when to pass versus when to shoot. I mean, we've got a lot of offensive. I think the thing has become is we have so many offensive point guards.
Yeah.
Right. So many point guards that can score. And I think that's been confused with, anybody who can score can run point. And that's not true.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's not really true. I mean, you got to be a point guard. You got to know what to do. And then you can score off of that. Steph's a perfect example, right? Steph's first couple of years, he ran point. Now he's really more of an off guard. He's kind of, he doesn't really run it. Draymond runs it. They have other people bring the ball up the court. And so I think a lot of that has kind of maybe given the impression that the point position has been diminished a little. And I think it's important, especially like in terms of Houston, in terms of Dallas, both kind of teams that are kind of figuring out, Dallas has been together at least a season, but Anthony Davis is still relatively new on that team. He was hurt for the majority of the time that he was there. They're still trying to figure out his role. Cooper Flagg's trying to figure out his role. D'Lo, when he comes in, is trying to figure out his role. Then you roll over to Houston, Kevin Durant. If you remember, I mean, it took a minute, even when he joined the Warriors, for them to figure out how to use Kevin Durant. And so it takes a minute because Kevin Durant is quite the presence, right? And he he demands a lot of attention, and he demands a lot of the spotlight, and the offense flows through him. And so they're trying to figure that out. And to put a rookie point guard on there, it's tricky because Amen Thompson's a great player, in my opinion, probably is going to be maybe most improved player of the year.
Yep.
But I think it's a little much, and we need to kind of default back to our regular point guards and let them kind of run it while everything settles, and then maybe make some decisions.
Yeah, for sure, man. Right on, man. So I agree with every point that you made. We'll see. The season's still early, man. These guys, we both picked the Mavs and the Rockets to be in the upper echelon of the NBA, in the top 5, top 6, right? At least a playoff team. Right now, as it stands, they're not. But again, there's so many more games to go, bro. Right?
No, they will be. They will be. I'm confident that they will be. They'll figure it out.
Yep.
But the other one, really quick. I don't know if you're going to bring them up, but I want to talk about the Sixers.
Oh yeah, I was going to bring them up after the Lakers, and then we'll go to the East.
Yeah. Let's go. So
the Lakers was the last team I kind of wanted to point out in the West. They're missing their 2 superstars right now in LeBron James with the sciatica. Then you got Luka Doncic, who messed up his finger. He's out. I don't know how much longer he's going to be out, but with that comes opportunity for other guys to step up. And in my opinion, I think the Lakers have played decently without those guys. That's given the opportunity for some of these other guys to really establish themselves, like an Austin Reeves, to be a guy that they can lean on, right? So this only will help this team moving forward. That when they miss a Luka, they miss a LeBron, it just gives the opportunities like Austin Reeves, like we said, Rui Hachimura to essentially emerge, right? Jared Vanderbilt, who's been playing pretty well as well. But this team lacks shooting. They still do. They're not a very good shooting team. LeBron definitely has helped them because his shooting has gotten better over the years, but he's not expected back until mid-November, bro. So let me ask you, what are your thoughts so far of what you've seen with the Lakers? With Luka and without Luka, and how do you see them project? What do you see them move? At the end of the season, given what you've seen.
So one thing, I'm a little bit of a controversial point of view maybe here. The one thing that I notice is how much better Luka plays, or apparently plays, when LeBron's not in there. Then I see how much better Reeves plays without Luka in there. And the thing that kind of stands out to me is really Luka and LeBron are the point. They're the point guards basically of the team. And when they both play, I guess it defers to LeBron. I don't really know how they break it down. But the thing is, they don't seem to get things out of Rui, Vanderbilt. So they don't get that output out of those players when they're on the court versus when they're off the court. Reeves seems to be excelling with no Luka there. And that's sort of troubling to me a little bit, because it tells me like they're all pulling from the same string. They're all pulling from, like, there isn't enough to go around, which has been my concern about the Lakers from the get-go. Right?
They're all ball dominant guys.
They're all ball dominant. They don't necessarily make players. I mean, we could argue LeBron's been a very good assist player, and he's done that, but he's always been the best player on the team, and he hasn't really promoted someone else to do more. And so, to me, I kind of look at that, and it's kind of like, I'm thinking about that. I'm going, like, that's interesting to me, because that has the recipe to potentially, when they all get back, I don't want to say worse, but all of the supporting cast won't play as well.
And it's interesting.
It'll only be Luka and LeBron.
What's interesting too is the other guy that I want to bring up on the Lakers that has played better without Luka has been DeAndre Ayton. Okay.
Yes.
He's played a lot better. And that's interesting too, because, Luka actually has done well with big guys. He proved it in Dallas. He did pretty well with Gafford and PJ Washington, right? He did, and Lively, right? For a minute. And it's interesting that DeAndre Ayton had struggled mightily with Luka there, right? We don't know how he's going to play with LeBron. I mean, LeBron's also good in getting big men to play pretty well as well. But, it's interesting. Yeah. It's a good observation. They're all ball dominant guys. They don't really have the, read and react kind of offense that, the Warriors do. They're just kind of very deliberate, kind of, one-on-one kind of, basketball for the most part, right? And look for the best shot amongst those three. It's kind of like the way to do it. But I just wanted to bring them up because, they're a high profile organization. They made a big splash last year with that big trade, right? And, now the time has come, And then LeBron gets hurt. We can question whether he really is hurt, but I don't want to question. He probably is, right?
Yeah, but he's 40
He's
years old,
40.
and something's
Yeah, for sure.
Something's gonna happen, right? Even if he's just taking time off to be ready for the postseason, whatever his motive is. One thing about DeAndre Ayton that is, I think DeAndre Ayton's one of these players. Like the more he has to think, the worse he is. Right? You really want him in an offense that's just read and react, a flow offense. And I think that the Lakers have more of that when Luka's not on there. Luka's a great player, but you'll spend 80% of the shot clock him trying to find his spot, and then if he can't, then he'll dish it off to you, and you're kind of just figuring out, is he going to pass? Is he going to, so the offense kind of crawls a little bit when he's in there. And so I think that's not conducive to DeAndre Ayton because he's sitting there thinking, and then he loses interest or whatever's going through his mind happens. And then as opposed to they're just running, give him the ball, do this, do that, just move, move. And so that may be some of what's going on there.
What's interesting, if you look at net rating for the teams right now, the Lakers are 15th right now. That's net rating at 0.71. Okay. Gives you an idea. Yeah. They're in close games every game, right? They're not really blowing anybody out. Warriors blew them out, right, in the first game of the season. But they're a work in progress. What we're seeing in the teams today may not necessarily translate, in about 40 games from now, right? It's going to be different.
Absolutely. It'll be interesting to monitor the season, and how it goes. But you're right. The teams you brought up, obviously San Antonio's, they're in the positive direction. The Thunder have had some. I think they've had 2 overtime or not 2.
Yeah, in the very first 2 games.
5 victories. Yeah, so I would assume their net rating's probably pretty tight as well. But the Lakers,
they're actually in 6th at 7.38.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So, no, good.
So,
good.
All right, so let's dovetail to the East before we go to the next segment. So you brought up the Sixers. Go ahead and bring them up, man.
Yes. Okay. What's going on? What's funny is, what was their slogan when they were trying
process, baby.
The process. So we gave up on the process, and we actually started drafting players that we think are actually pretty good no matter where we are in the draft, right? So you got McCain, you got Maxey, you got now Edgecombe. Holy crap, dude. They're like boom, boom, boom. Yeah. They're hitting it. And Embiid is hardly playing, and he's still
not fully healthy.
Kind of the rotation. Yeah. And dude, Edgecombe has really brought a lot of energy to the team. Yeah. And they're really starting off strong. I had them lower. I mean, he's a rookie. I didn't think he would have that big of an impact, but clearly he has. I've mentioned how much I like Maxey. I like Maxey quite a bit. But they've been playing really strong. They've been
Obviously, I don't know if you heard it, but Screamin' A this morning essentially declared that Tyrese Maxey and Edgecombe will become the best backcourt in the NBA. All right.
Okay.
Now, I mean, it's a great way to get, it's a clickbait kind of statement, right, and get some views and stuff.
Yes.
But the way that they're playing, I mean, Tyrese Maxey looks like a player, man. I mean, you brought him up, as one of the guys that you really, really liked, right, in the past, because you like that he's looks like
he's a gamer.
He looks like he's just having fun, right? So, and dude, he's been.
And you know what I like about Maxey the most? The thing that I like, the bigger the game, the bigger he plays.
Yeah.
Like the more, like in the postseason, whatever, dude, he gives you everything he's got. And I love that. When I see that in players, I'm like, all right, let's go.
Yep. And what's interesting, bro, so they have 4 wing players that are essentially carrying this team. They actually played better without Embiid when those guys are in. So the guys that I'm talking about are Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe, Kelly Oubre, all right, the Tsunami Papi. That's his nickname.
The green eye bandit.
And then you got Quentin Grimes of the Dallas Mavericks, right? Yes. And that guy has emerged to be a player as well. I think he came out of the University of Houston. And dude, I mean, those 4 are playing lights out, right? And they're playing great small ball. And Embiid, when he comes in there, he's kind of the ball dominant guy. He's really, really good, right? When he's healthy, he's really, really good. And that's kind of the scary thought is once that guy is healthy and has these 4 other, really good wing players right now that are playing well together, they're going to be a problem. Then you get, Paul George coming back, right? Whoa, and they're 4-0 right now. So let me ask you something. Is this a mirage or is it real?
I'm gonna I'm closing my eyes, okay, Eddie.
Yeah.
I'm envisioning Embiid running with the USA Olympic squad,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you have a dinosaur running with freaking antelope.
Right.
And that's what the reason I'm going to say it's a mirage is I don't think those wing players are a mirage.
Okay.
But when you start introducing Paul George is not as young and fast as he used to be, although he can play up tempo a lot better than Embiid can. But I think when you're trying to reintroduce these guys, they're going to have to figure out how to play at a slower pace.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but as I'm watching those four wings run, I'm like, imagine sticking Wembanyama. Obviously, you can stick Wembanyama anywhere. But I'm saying, imagine sticking Wembanyama with those four. Like, holy crap. It would be like, that'd be like an Olympic marathon, like just a race,
Yeah, for sure,
and
man.
So that's my biggest concern. I think it's a mirage because when they introduce these players, they're gonna have to change the dynamic a little bit, and that's where I think it's a mirage. But I don't think. I mean, right now, I think Edgecombe's gonna hit a wall. Right around mid of the season, or the he's just gonna get tired from the amount of games that he's playing.
Yeah, for sure.
So things like that, but no, I don't think those players are a mirage. Oubre maybe a little bit. Grimes is a solid player. Maxey has been a solid player. Edgecombe, there's no reason to doubt he's not. Maybe Oubre's kind of riding the bus here a little bit. He's pretty good, but he's outplaying his statistical history. So maybe him, but we'll see. It's going to be really fascinating with Paul George and Embiid joining the lineup. How they're going to impact is going to be.
Absolutely.
And the Philly fans, they'll let you know about it right away.
Right.
Yeah.
I think this team is a great story in the beginning of the season, man, because nobody picked them to be, even close to sniffing being at the top, and they're at the top right now, right? I mean, the East is wide open, bro. All right. The Boston Celtics are struggling. The Indiana Pacers have yet to win a game, and they're only missing that one guy. It's amazing that one guy makes that much.
Well, Turner too, if you want.
Oh yeah, Turner, Miles Turner. Yeah. That's right. He went to the Bucks. That's right. Yeah. But what's interesting is that it's wide open, so it could be anybody's. Anybody in the East can come out. So let me ask you this: we have the Sixers at 4-0, the Bulls at 3-0, Miami Heat at 3-1, the Cleveland Cavaliers at 3-1, and the Milwaukee Bucks at 3-1, and the New York Knicks at 2-2. Out of those teams. Do you still think the Knicks are? I think the Knicks are still the cream of the crop in the East. But right now they're not necessarily playing their best yet, and there's no reason why they shouldn't be because they're all the same players. There's no new guys really in that team, right?
No, but new coach, new system.
Yeah, new coach, new system.
Right? So they're trying to figure some things out. So I think some of that is taking place.
Well, maybe their starters are not used to playing as little minutes now. It's like, what the hell? Yeah. What's going on, right?
You know what?
I'm supposed to get more minutes. Why am I not playing?
And you know what? You laugh, but there's some truth to that. Maybe they're the bench isn't used to playing more, being more contributing to So yeah, there's some of that in there, but obviously the payoff is when you get to the postseason. You're going to have fresher feet, fresher legs, fresher everything, and so I think that's the right move, but. Yeah, I mean, to me, I think the pretenders in those top six, I think Chicago's going to, wean away. I think they're a byproduct of the early season. Miami, I didn't think they'd do as good as they're doing. It's so hard to dismiss, a Riley team. It's just really hard to dismiss that organization because just when you think they're not going to do anything, they do something. So I'm not 100%. But I would still say, and Turner's working out really well. For Milwaukee,
for the Bucks.
Milwaukee, but there's a lot of this trade rumors with Giannis and what's going on there, and so we'll see how if that disrupts, the season. Giannis is not talking about it and he's trying to downplay it, but it's like it's on freaking ESPN or Bleacher Report every day. There's just like trade packages for Giannis, who can like blah blah blah, and it's so you're looking at all of that, but I still think that the Knicks, the Cavaliers. Will be towards the top. They'll be in the top 5. Philly's going to be really interesting to watch. I think they're going to be a one battling there. But again, like I said, once they reintroduce Embiid, reintroduce Paul George, we're going to see how that impacts them. But and then Milwaukee, I think, is probably one that is going to rank a little higher than I had anticipated.
No, I agree. I agree with that, man. I agree with that. Yeah. So. All right, bro. So we got, we want to try and keep these to 45 minutes, and we're right now at 35 minutes, right? And it's going to be tough to kind of get through the Warriors segment in 10 minutes, right? So we'll probably see if we can get this within 15 minutes. We may not, we'll just do briefly coverage of the rookie fantasy league, just kind of show where it's at, but it's not a big deal on that one. We can skip if we need to. But let's go to the Warriors, man. All right, this is our team, right? And as we mentioned, we're changing the format of our podcast. we're going to go ahead and talk NBA, all the other teams first, and then we're going to segment and dovetail into the Warriors. So the Warriors, you know, they're 4-1. They beat the Denver Nuggets, who are widely considered a top 2 team in the West, right? They have beaten the Lakers, you know, who are also, you know, according to odds of Vegas, they're going to be they're the third odds on favorite to win the title, right? They're third, right?
And they beat the Lakers on a night where Luka scored 50 points.
Exactly. And the Warriors overcame 50-something points a career
From
night
Aaron
by Aaron Gordon, right?
Aaron Gordon,
and Luka
correct.
had a freaking game too, or not Luka, Jokic had a great game too, and Jamal Murray, right? So they, and then, you know, of course, after that overtime game, they lost their first game to the Portland Trailblazers, and then they came back and beat the Memphis Grizzlies, right? So, and the Clippers, right? So they've beaten the Memphis Grizzlies, the Clippers, the Lakers, and the Denver Nuggets. I mean, those are 4 formidable opponents, man.
And the Clippers had beat them 7 straight times.
Exactly. And they and dude, in the style that they beat the Clippers, it was like old 90s basketball, dude. It was like back in the day, like it wasn't even a run and gun. It was like slow down the pace, you know, kind of very strategic in how they kind of leave certain guys open. The Clippers are considered one of the better shooting teams in the NBA right now, bro. And they limited them to less than 40% shooting the entire night, right? Yeah. And then Zubac has always been a problem for him. And then, dude, Quentin Post.
Yes.
Dude, Quentin Post just lit. I mean, I think deflated them because he, you know, brought out Zubac to guard him, right? And he was just shooting lights out. I think he made like 5 threes. I mean, he was lights out, and he's held his own inside and guarding him too.
Well, that's the part that really impressed me about Quinn was his defense. He was rotating. He wasn't, you know, last year he was losing his position. This year he was fighting a little more. He was kind of keeping his spot longer. He was rotating. I mean, there was a couple where he's guarding Zubac on the low post, and he's got to rotate out to guard Harden, then come back and guard Zubac again. And so I don't know if it's Al Horford. I don't know. And I do want to, speaking of defense, don't let me forget about Buddy Hield, because I got to talk about Buddy Hield here for a minute.
Do it now, bro.
Yeah, dude. But, dude, that guy, you know, I think it was on a lunch. I don't think it was on a podcast. You know, at the beginning of the year, I was questioning whether he would be in the rotation.
Yes.
Dude, his defense has freaking come out of nowhere. Dude.
I know.
He is all over the place.
Yes.
And I'm like, dude, who is feeding these guys? Like, what? Yes. Like what's going on? I don't know if it's Stackhouse. I don't know if you know what they're telling him, but dude, his defense is phenomenal. You know,
I agree.
And I think he is cementing himself as a rotational piece just based on his defense alone.
He's a 3-and-D guy now, bro.
Yes, he is.
You would never think Buddy Hield would be a 3-and-D guy, man.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely. Dude, I'm going to credit Jimmy Butler with
Jimmy Butler
rubbing off on a lot of these guys.
Absolutely. Jimmy Butler and him are boys, man. I don't know if you know that. They're like boys, big time, bro.
Oh, I know.
Right?
I know.
Yeah,
they're buddies.
They're big time. And
they got a bobblehead together. Did you see the little bobblehead?
No.
They got a bobblehead with both of them together, like as a unit. They're the buddies.
But you know, the Buddy Hield's kind of a quirky, quirky guy, right? I mean, just the way he talks and he laughs, and just, you know, he has a Bahamian accent, right?
Yeah.
The way he talks, he's got that big old grin, and you know, you can tell he's just having fun out there. And he's enjoying it, right? And I think Butler needs kind of somebody like that because he's so serious, right?
He is.
And that's probably why they get along so great, bro.
Yeah, they're like opposites, you know, but in a good way. You know, he's like always kind of letting Jimmy blow off steam, you know, because he's just saying ridiculous things, and Jimmy's just like, whatever. Yeah.
He's the comedy relief, dude. He's the jester. He's the jester, man.
Exactly.
But anyway, so bring it back to because you brought up, you know, the influence of Jimmy Butler on the team, right? He has definitely taken over, I think, as the leader on the team, bro.
I agree.
And it used to be Draymond. Draymond was the emotional leader of this team. He is still the emotional leader to a point, but he's a little bit volatile, right? We all know that. Jimmy Butler brings kind of like a calmness effect to the team, and which I never thought would be. Dude, you and I hated that trade. We were like, "Oh my God, are you kidding me? We hate this trade." Right?
I was not a fan of it.
And only because I thought those two, namely Butler and Draymond Green, would have issues because they're both kind of strong. They're both strong personalities, and they both can be volatile, right? But Jimmy Butler is the elder statesman amongst those guys. And you can tell that Draymond essentially, we had a short about them. He's a fan. He's fangirling, Jimmy Butler, right?
Yeah.
So
Yes, he was.
but I got to tell you, the reason why I want to bring up Jimmy Butler is because I don't know if you heard on the radio today, locally, but the post game last night, Jimmy Butler was talking about Jonathan Kuminga, and you could tell that he's had a big influence on Jonathan Kuminga. He pretty much said that he's there to keep him level-headed, right? He said, I think for him it was a big adjustment that everybody was trying to get him to play, and we all have our ways of trying to convey how to play. And I think he was kind of taking it wrong sometimes, but we're all here to support him, and we're all here to kind of make him succeed, and we want him to succeed. And I think he's turned a corner, right? And I think a lot of Jonathan Kuminga has turned a corner, and I think a lot of it has to do with Jimmy Butler's influence, man. I think he's definitely settled this kid down. And dude, I remember we had our lunch in the preseason. I'm telling you, dude, Kuminga looks like a different player, bro. He just does, right?
He absolutely does.
I think he's been the key. I honestly think he's been the key and why they're this good right now.
Well, I think that, how would I put this? The Warriors are at their best and have been historically. You look at all their championship years or all the years they make it, to the finals, and they've been their best when everyone knows their role and everyone is playing the way they should be. And, Kuminga has been a wrinkle in that for the last 2 or 3 seasons. He's been the one guy where everyone's questioning, you should play him more, you should play him less, you should do this. Obviously Kerr, everyone has talked to him about rebounding more and the importance of all of that. And for whatever reason, he wasn't hearing it. And he's hearing it now. And that's great. I had an old boss that used to tell me, you can shave a cheetah, but the spots will grow back. Right. Right. So they'll always grow back. Right. So that's the thing I'm worried about Kuminga. Right.
Oh, you think that his bad habits will come back?
Well, I don't think they're bad habits. I think it's whether he's truly sold on how he can provide value to the team.
Well, I think he has, man.
That's the part that I want to see, right? I want to see how he goes. I want to see how he's been playing really, really well. He's been fighting for rebounds. He's been active on defense. I see him chirping a little bit, which I like. He's and on the plus side, he's been getting some veteran type calls. Because I've seen in the past where he's been fouled pretty aggressively and he doesn't get a call. Now he's kind of getting these little cheap shots and he's getting the calls. So I don't know what's happened on that front either, but I like the Kuminga that's playing today. I like where his brain is at. I'm hoping that it could stay that way, for the season. And if they do, I don't think they're going to trade him. I think they'll sign the team option and then they'll deal with how to sign him long term, after that.
He's invaluable to the team right now, man.
He is absolutely. He is become the guy they would trade for. Well, he's become the guy that they would have traded for.
Correct.
For him, like he's that guy now.
So it's going to be interesting though, because now he's now a starter, and he's going to be a starter for the foreseeable future.
That's what Kerr said.
Even if DeAnthony Melton, because DeAnthony Melton is supposed to be back in like 3 weeks, by the way, right? And dude, I mean, the Warriors are already like 12 deep right now. Maybe you can argue even 13, right? Yeah. I mean, it's hard to divvy up all that playing time to the whole team. But then you got him and you got Steph Curry that are, and they both are great shooters. So the league is kind of being like, Steph Curry now has some players, and Steph Curry has actually even said on the radio, because it was an interview recently, that he thinks this is the deepest team he's ever had. Deepest team. And
no, it is and don't forget, Seth Curry's still coming.
That's what I'm saying. Seth Curry, Seth
Curry, yep. And obviously you mentioned DeAnthony Melton. So, so it's gonna be really tricky. Like one of the guys that I think is getting squeezed out is GP2. Like I think he's like
because of Will Richard.
Because of Will Richards, and just like, dude, you can't play everyone. I mean, you just can't. Like, it's not possible. But
I think what's gonna happen, bro, is that there's gonna be some nights where they're gonna give the big 3 or big 4 with Al Horford, right? Off the night off, and they'll just play the entire bench and have them win the games, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, I see that coming soon, dude. I see it coming probably within the next week, especially if they continue winning. They're playing Friday, I think, and then they play again, I think Saturday or Sunday of this week. If they keep winning,
they got back to back. I think Milwaukee,
Yeah.
Indiana.
They're gonna be doing that, man, because why not, right? See what and when you get more and more guys contributing, they feel more and more part of the team, and they're willing to play harder, right? But it is tough to go ahead and manage the minutes for a team this deep, but it's a good problem to have, bro. It's better than not having anybody that can play, right?
The one fly in the ointment, and it was on a back-to-back, was that Portland game, right?
Yeah.
And the thing that worries me about the Portland game is what worries me about the Houston Rockets, and that is the length. The length of that of Portland, kind of, they're not as long as Houston is, but long teams still bother the Warriors.
Yeah,
it's hard for them to move around. So I think just long term, I'm really gonna be watching that first Houston game when they play Houston, because I really want to see how that lines up.
Oh,
but But like the Denver game was fascinating because Denver's owned us for the last couple of years. The Clippers have owned us for the last couple of years.
And Memphis has always been a tough out too.
Yep, Memphis has been a tough out as well. So no, everything is going well. Like I said, we're introducing Seth Curry, DeAnthony Melton here probably within the next month or so. And so we'll see how this plays out. But yeah, they've been playing really good. And I agree with you. Kuminga is the spear of that, the tip of that spear. In terms of like the rookies and the young guys and the changing of everything. But what I like is just everyone seems to be like at peace. Like, everyone seems to be calm. And just a follow-up item, it's interesting because, Draymond is such a vocal leader and he's so emotional. And, the thing about a leader like that is that when you lead like that, you get the impression that you have to be like that, right? That you have to be outspoken and demonstrative. And what I didn't calculate in my thing with Jimmy Butler was Jimmy showing you don't have to be like that.
Right.
And what I think is with the Warriors, you look across their bench and most of their guys are quiet. So they really gravitate towards Jimmy Butler's type of leadership.
Yeah, leadership.
Draymond is more the outlier. Like that's just Draymond.
Well,
right?
Now there's like a good cop, bad cop dynamic, right?
Exactly. Because with Steph, it was like bad cop, quiet cop.
Yeah, exactly.
But with Butler, it's like good cop, bad cop, kind of. Yeah. And so I think that the players, that's why they gravitate so much to Butler, because he can do it silently.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to push it. And I've seen that in the demeanor, right? Like, if you remember before Butler, there was a lot of players crying about calls. There's a lot of things that they were emulating that Draymond does.
Yes.
And this year, everything seems a little more calm.
I agree with that.
Butler doesn't argue these things. Butler, let's move on. Let's just, and I think that's really, it's the personality thing, right? It just resonates. If we had, what's his face, Rasheed Wallace on the team, then, him and Draymond would get along fantastically because they're both that type of guy.
Yeah.
But, that type of guy is not very common. And so I think that's the thing that Jimmy Butler's brought. Like, it's really made them be okay with kind of, let's be quiet. Let's do what we got to do. Let's focus on that side of the court.
And I'll tell you this, bro. I think there is a ulterior reason why this is happening. Okay. I think Jimmy Butler, we all know, dude, he's proven this in the past. He has a history of being a pretty volatile guy, right?
Yep.
I think because he's now found a place that really wants him, that has a superstar transcendent player who has already won titles, right?
Yep.
Jimmy Butler hasn't won a title, right?
Yep.
So he's been to the finals twice, got close, but didn't get there. So this is his opportunity right now. And I think he's going to show his best self to the team because he wants a title too, bro.
Yep.
And this is probably his really last chance to do it. And Curry wants it. Draymond wants it.
Yep.
They're very focused to do it, right? And the whole organization wants it. But in order for them to get there, the young guys have to step up. Kuminga is stepping up already, right? We got, Moody. Sometimes has been a little inconsistent, right? But
he is, but his release is butter, bro. When
absolutely. And then you got Pajemski had a freaking great game yesterday, man.
Correct. Yeah.
You know, he must have heard our podcast, right? And said, "Oh man, I better than you." I'm just kidding, because we were talking about that. It's like,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
might be the guy out, right?
I'm still iffy about Pods. You know, I'm still trying to figure out his role. But yeah, the last game against the Clippers, he had a phenomenal game.
Yeah,
The bunch of the young guys had a really good game.
Yeah, and then you got Quentin Post, right?
Yep.
I mean, these three guys right there, and then you got Will Richard. 4 guys right there. We haven't talked about Guy Santos yet, because he's, you know, he can play. He's good, right? You got Pat Spencer on a 2-way. He's actually good too. I mean, he played meaningful minutes in the playoffs last year. So they are very. And then we haven't talked about DeAnthony Melton, and we haven't talked about Seth Curry. I mean, you look at that.
And we really haven't talked about Jimmy Butler, the player. We've talked about Jimmy Butler,
leader.
the personality,
right?
Not the player. Yeah.
Right. So anyway, I just think that's the reason why you're seeing the best version of Jimmy Butler, because he wants to win a title, and this is his last chance to do it, and he's all in, bro, and he's going to show his best self to the entire team.
Let's do it. And you know what's great about his best self is that his best self really seems to resonate with the younger.
Absolutely,
that's the best part.
Absolutely, you know? Absolutely. You know, he's a calming force. But he's a force, but he's a calming force.
It's just fascinating. Like we have 3 really strong leaders on this team.
Yes, and they all do it differently.
So differently.
Yes,
you know, they're all very like, as opposed to, we were talking about the Lakers. You know, like Luka and LeBron are leaders, but they're not the same kind of leaders as the leaders we're talking about here on the Warriors.
Correct.
Right. Like so that's the fascinating part. And you know, the thing that I'm wondering is, you know, the QP Al Horford role. Is Al Horford is Quentin Post gonna be the starter as long as he's playing D, and Al Horford comes off the bench, and then Al Horford would be the closer, or how's that gonna work? You know,
I think it's gonna be on a game-to-game basis.
But
it's going to be a game-to-game basis, bro.
But I'm curious, though, because it's starting to smell like maybe Quentin Post is starting to earn starter minutes.
Yes.
You know, just based on his defense. So it's really going to be interesting, because I know that Kerr loves the fact that he can shoot, but with the young guys, that's not why he plays them. And Pods is 100% proof of that. Yeah. If you play hard, you play defense, you play like Kerr's going to play.
Yeah.
And if those guys can figure that out, and that's why I think Buddy Hield, the whole thing about him, that's why it's going to change, because he's ratcheted up, and Kerr will play those guys. The only offense he wants is Butler, you know, back in the day, Clay and Steph, and everybody else, you know, do what you do on the defensive side, and those guys will score for us. Yeah,
exactly, man. Right on, man. Well, hey, dude, we're right now at 52 minutes, and we're a little bit overtime. So, by the way, you have the slide?
I do.
Okay, let's just go ahead and quickly show, because we can talk about our team, kind of see like just the trends, you know, kind of where it's going and so forth. But we're going to go ahead and end our segment with the Rookie Fantasy League. And this is something that we're going to probably review, maybe not every week. We're just going to do it for the first 2 weeks, and then we'll probably review it, you know, shortly thereafter. But what you can see here is last week we went ahead and you see 2 different, probably go to the smaller one. Yeah, here we go. That's cool right there. So what you can see here is Twan is the one on the left for both. You know, the orange is the West, the East is the blue. And last week, what we had are they're projected and where they're at right now. Now you can see there's a point system now that we've assigned that you get 5 points if you're exactly right where they're at today on their standings against our projected. And you can see our point system right there is 5 points for the correct seating, 3 points if you're one off in either direction, and then 2 points if you're 2 off from either direction, and then 0 if you're more than that, right? But you can see here, bro, like in the West, you have 23 points. I have 21 points. This is a possible out of 75 points. You can see like it's completely upside down right now, right? Right?
Yeah.
Completely. And then, you know, the East, you know, I have a few more points, you know, in the East versus the West. So right now I have essentially a 2-point lead if you look at our standings, right? But we don't have to go through this. I just want to kind of show you where we're at. But, you know, you can see out of 150 points, I have 40 points. You have 38 points, right? Yep. It's just hard to predict, right? You can go to the next slide, bro. All right. So here is where we're at with our Rookie Fantasy League. Now, my team right now has 1,318 points. Swans is at 894.55 with a delta of 423. It grew, bro. And the reason being it's growing is because my guys are starting now, bro. All right. Yeah. Edgecomb starts, Canupo starts. Yep. Colin Murray Boyles started tonight. Okay. Dylan Harper is not starting. He's coming off the bench. Now, Johnny Broom isn't playing at all. He's DNP CDs all day and all night. that's your hope where you can come back, right?
Yep.
Cooper Flagg, you can see I sorted it in from the highest to the lowest. Cooper Flagg right now is your best, point getter right now. But you could see he'd be like third right now on my team right now, right?
Yep.
But Trey Johnson looks like a player, bro. All right. And I liked his game in the preseason, man. And dude, Washington looks better than people think. I mean, you got freaking Keyshawn George, you have Alex Sarr, you have Bud Carrington, you have Trey Johnson, all young, youthful, guys. And dude, they're playing a lot better. So I think this team is going to be on the lookout as a team that's going to be a lot better than we thought. Although I think we both put them last place. But then the other guys, Ace Bailey, he's coming off the bench too. All right. I think he's a guy that's going to become a player. And the Utah Jazz, dude, they're playing a lot better than people thought too. I mean, the other night, Lauri Markkanen scored 50 points. First time that's happened since freaking Karl Malone, right? So I think that your hope to catch up is Malawach and Fleming because they are getting playing time, whereas my Johnny Broom is not right now, right? So yeah, but any observations on any of the players from either our teams that you want to make?
No, I think Flagg will rise up the charts. I anticipate he'll be one or two total point scorer of this list. But again, like we talked about, whether he's point guard or not, we'll figure that out. Trey Johnson, I do think he's a player. He's a scoring machine.
Oh yeah.
Malawach, I mean, we'll see. When I was watching him in preseason and in the Vegas League, he's still very robotic. So my guess is that, I'm a 50-50 with him, whether he's going to have an impact this year or not. Everyone else, I think Flamin, Bailey, I think they'll be pretty decent. We'll see. I think it'll be tighter this year than it was last year. And I've got a delta to make up because I think I was down 300 from the preseason and the tournament. So hopefully I can make up some ground here.
Right on, man. You know what, bro? For whatever reason, I'm running out of batteries here, man. So I'm about to shut off. Anyway, but dude, that's it for our show, man. We did it in 58 minutes. So we're here weekly. We're Buzzer Beaters, brought to you by gremlinsmedia.com. You can also find us on any other podcast outlet you can think of, such as, Google, Spotify, all the other ones that you can think of. Anywhere you can get your podcast, you can find us. We're also known as the Cisco Kidz. We're here every Wednesday, 9 p.m., 6 p.m. Pacific. Just tune in, and we appreciate your listening in. And until next week, have a good rest of the week, everyone.